Hey guys, you know what time it is, day before the match. So that means match preview on the channel. And tomorrow, 5 p.m. kickoff time here in the UK, it will be Inter versus Parma or Parma versus Inter. So before we get into it, you also know what to do. Leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. How are things looking? We know how things are looking in this crazy, crazy period that we are coming up in. This April is going to be absolutely rammed with games. These boys, our boys, they're going to be stretched to their human limits. Every 3 days, they're going to be playing football, big matches, key matches. In Serie A, we have 8 finals. That's the only way to put it. The issue is the other team that's fighting with us, their 8 finals are 8 finals, whereas we have 8 finals plus Coppa Italia in between, like the other day, plus Champions League against Bayern Munich, and Club World Cup to also look forward to at the end of the summer. So very, very difficult, but I still continue to have faith that Inter will remain at the top. Napoli will play Bologna, difficult trip for them. Or is it at home? Actually, wait, let me just check. Yeah, away. Difficult trip. Bologna have been in good form. They're fighting for top four. They're in top four. They want to keep top four. So hopefully, Orsolini, Italiano, Endoe, those boys there, Santiago Castro, if he really wants to try to get a move to Inter, can do the job for us. We can put the pressure on tomorrow before Monday when they travel to Bologna. And against Parma, let's get into it. The preview. We have a good record against these guys. I mean, of course, Parma not really the Parma of, you know, the yesteryears or the vintage Parma teams, but they are just about surviving in Serie A at the moment. They are out of the relegation zone, but only 3 points above Empoli in the relegation zone. So of course they are going to fight for their life. They don't need a win. That's the dangerous thing, because they don't need to try to win. So they can just try to hold on to a draw. And their coach is Christian Kivu. Some of you guys may remember him from our treble winning era. He was there before that as well. Legendary Romanian centre back / left back, who actually, I think in modern football, he would fit in very well. He was a little bit before his time, a centre back that was a little bit shorter than most centre backs, but very good on the ball. He had a lovely, lovely left foot. And now he was the Primavera coach of Inter for last couple of seasons, and now he finally made the step up to senior football. And he was interviewed the other day speaking about it, and of course he said, I hope my Parma team beat this Inter team as much as he likes and cherishes Inter. He also played for Roma back in the day. That's where we signed him from. But yeah, they've been pretty decent under Kivu since he's come in. He's turned around their form. Last 3 games, draws, a loss, but he also got a win. So yeah, they've been solid defensively since Kivu's come in. So that's what I expect from them. And yeah, in the first round, or in the first half of the season, we did beat them 3-1. They had a different coach back then. We beat them 3-1 quite comfortably. And before that, we're talking about a Coppa Italia game we played where we had to go to extra time. I think that was the Acerbi goal in extra time that we won it with. And then you're talking about Conte era, I believe, these seasons here. That was the Alexis Sanchez away goals? Those are the kind of goals I remember. But anyway, good record against these guys, even away. But if you talk about Parma away, this is what most Interisti who were brought up, 90s kids, Interisti will remember, or 80s and 70s as well, because away at Parma, big game for Scudetto. It reminds us of Zlatan Ibrahimovic in the rain at Ennio Tardini. One of my most favorite Inter memories, even though it's related to Zlatan. Of course, we don't like him as much these days, and he doesn't like us as much these days. But he was massive for us that day. He was injured under Roberto Mancini. There was doubts that he wouldn't play. He didn't play, but he came on the second half in the pouring rain, scored 2 goals. The one on the right there, amazing goal from distance outside of the box. Then he got another big one afterwards, a tap in, and won us the Scudetto, not even fully fit. So tomorrow is the turn of, hopefully, Marcus Thuram or Lautaro or the other strikers to do that for us, because it is a final. Speaking of Marcus Thuram, this is an interesting game for him. I think I talked about it last time we played Parma, but it's always a good excuse to bring up stories like this. You know, he was actually born in Parma when his dad, Lilian Thuram, was playing at Parma. And you can see him there pictured as a little baby coming onto the Ennio Tardini pitch. So he did say in the pre-match, you know, this is a special game for him, and he did score in the reverse fixture. So hopefully he can score another one. And of course, Ale Bastoni for one season was playing at Parma as well when we loaned him there for the 1 year. Had a pretty good year, you know, next to Bruno Alves, a centre back. Definitely a year that helped him grow into the player that he has become now. But hopefully tomorrow he keeps a clean sheet for us. And will he start or not for Inter? Let's have a look at the predicted lineups from, of course, Sky Sport Italia. And yes, looks like Ale Bastoni will start tomorrow alongside Acerbi and Bisek. I'm surprised because Bisek started against Milan the other day. So, you know, Pavard being benched for 2 games in a row. But of course, that means that Pavard's 100% playing against his old club, Bayern Munich. So I guess that could make sense. Zoma comes back in, although Martinez, we must say, has started to look like he could be, you know, a very good long-term replacement for Zoma until now. This one, Sky Sport, I've seen other different lineups that have Aslani in it. I think I did put Aslani in there because Aslani is suspended for the Champions League game. So it's not like he was going to start against Bayern. So I wouldn't be surprised if I see Aslani starting, but I also, you know, with Hakan's recent injury history, I am also kind of, you know, he played a very intense game against Milan the other day. I don't want to be burning him out. So hopefully, if the scoreline allows, we can rest Hakan, or he can get himself a yellow card so he can be subbed off. Frattesi to continue in midfield. Of course, we know the absolute stinker. I don't think I need to go over it again. The absolute stinker that Davide Frattesi had against Milan, his worst game in an Inter shirt. But I do expect better things from Frattesi. Yes, I don't rate him technically a lot of the times, but I do rate his characteristics. We need his characteristics, and they usually do come through for us in games like these. And we're going to need him tomorrow. If Parma are going to sit back and defend, we need his runs from midfield, but he needs to clean up his game. We cannot have the atrocious all-round play that he provided against Milan the other day. The Udinese game was a little bit better, so we need that Udinese game plus that goal against Udinese. It would be nice if he can provide that. And Mickey, of course, next to him. Hakan, Mickey midfield next to him should help him. On the right, surprisingly, Darmian. I mean, this is the game that we're all kind of hoping maybe that Nikola Zalewski finally can get his start, but it's clear, I've mentioned it on Twitter for a couple of weeks. People were thinking that, you know, after he comes back from his injury, he's going to be starting games. And I said, I know my coach, I can see that he still doesn't trust him fully, which I can kind of understand. And it's also a nice weapon to have off the bench because we don't have really much option at the moment at the wing back, on the right wing back position. It's a good option to have to bring on Zalewski in the second half rather than having to bring on Darmian, if you know what I mean. And we've got Di Marco on the left. So I think we're going to focus our efforts on the left-hand side. Bastoni, Mkhitaryan, Di Marco, triangle, Thuram in drifting on that side. And then on the other side, Darmian and Frattesi. I'm expecting more of an aerial threat or, you know, far post threat coming into the box. I think that could make a lot of sense. Lautaro coming back in up front, that is good news. He took part in full training today and yesterday. He's not going to have full 90 minutes in his leg, and I don't hope we don't need him for the full 90 because we do need him to start getting back into match rhythm for the Bayern game. And Thuram, I hope that slight foot issue that he picked up against Udinese, you could clearly see he wasn't playing very well against Milan, probably because of that foot issue. He has recovered from that. Barella is suspended, so he won't be partaking at all. Of course, we know Dumfries, Zielinski, and Taremi are out, which means hopefully, if we do need them, Correa and Arnautovic are fully ready, fit, and raring to go. Arnautovic hopefully continues his very good form that he's had recently. And yeah, having Zalewski off the bench is always a good option. On the other side, let's have a quick look at the Parma team. 4-3-3, but it will probably be more of a 4-5-1, or even probably one of the wingers coming really deep back to make it 5 when they're defending. Players to look out for, of course. A lot of you guys are big fans of this boy, Bernabe. Even back when we played them a couple of years back, people were already interested in this guy. He did catch the eye, and he has been catching the eye this year. Unfortunately, he has had a couple of injuries this season that stopped his development. But he is one to keep an eye out for as a potential future replacement for Aslani or a Mezzala. And the one I'm keeping a very close eye on is this guy here. You guys, if you follow me on for my FC25 journey, you'll know this season I was making at the beginning of the season, making my race to Division 1 videos, and Parma were my favorite team. And you know who my favorite players were, of course, Dennis Mann, but this guy, Yoann Boni, who I think could be a good buy for Inter's fourth striker option. Hasn't put up great numbers. The hype isn't quite there, but actually I quite like that. I like his fundamentals. I like his basics. He's strong, quick, basically a mini Marcus Thuram, but not mini. He's the same or even bigger than Marcus Thuram, but he's got the same kind of skill set to Marcus Thuram. Just needs to iron out his game in terms of finishing, final product, and everything like that. But I think if we can get him in the summer for, I'm sure in this before, Palmer would have quoted you 20 million plus. Now, because he hasn't put up the goals figures that, the hype was claiming, we probably could get him less than 15 million, which is pretty good price for a backup striker. Apart from that, the captain Del Prato is like a mini Darmian as well. You want to keep an eye out for. But yeah, in general, not a great team. Some nice players. It's quite a young team in terms of average age. All of these guys are like early 20s. Not much actual experience. Even the goalkeeper is a very, inexperienced Japanese guy who's made some mistakes. He can make great saves, but also mistakes this season. Zion Suzuki. So I am expecting Parma to make things difficult, make things tough. Kivu to have these guys well drilled and disciplined. But in the end, I think the team that we will put out plus substitutes off the bench will do the job for us. And I think this will be a 2-0 victory for Inter. That's what I'm going for, 2-0. I'm going for Marcus Thuram to get a goal and maybe Matteo Darmian, because we've been criticizing Darmian. He looked a bit finished and dusted against Milan. And I've learned my lessons from always when I start criticizing Darmian and, he comes through with a goal from out of nothing sometimes. So I'm going to go either for a Darmian Frattesi goal and then Marcus Thuram. You guys, let me know your prediction down below. I'll see you tomorrow for the post-match reaction around 7 p.m. UK time. So make sure you tune in. Ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter, first final of 8. Let's go.